Welcome to Rooted, Stories of Entrepreneurship and Agribusiness, a podcast from Colorado State University's Department of Agricultural and Resource Economics. I'm your host, Lauren Chenerides. I'm currently an assistant professor of agricultural business at Colorado State University, where I teach a course on agribusiness entrepreneurship. In this podcast series, we explore stories of how people across the food and agriculture industry identify problems, create solutions, and build or improve businesses that make an impact. What makes Rooted unique is that each episode is co-hosted by students in the agribusiness entrepreneurship course who bring their own curiosity and questions to the table. Their conversations with leaders across food and agriculture are a chance to learn, reflect, and share those insights with you, our audience of students, entrepreneurs, and change makers in food and agriculture. I appreciate your time and attention, and I'm excited to share these inspiring stories with you. Awesome. So today I'm joined by two of our student co-hosts, Emily and Ezra, both agricultural business majors, and our guest today is Kim Rounds. Kim leads the social media and talent strategy at Five Rivers Cattle Feeding, the largest cattle feeding operation in the United States. Her work bridges digital communication and workforce development, where she creates content that builds trust in beef production, while also recruiting and inspiring the next generation of ag professionals. Originally from Colorado, Kim holds degrees in animal science and equine science from Colorado State University. Her career has spanned media, education, and advocacy roles within the beef industry. Kim has served as a national beef ambassador, teaching assistant in CSU's Legends of Ranching course, and a groom for an international show jumper, reflecting her lifelong love of both equine and bovine pursuits. So cool. So great to have you here, Kim. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me and my little tag-along.
And your tag-along, Everett, our sidekick.
Yeah, our sidekick. So all the background noise and inevitable cuts, I apologize in advance, but that is working mom life. Dad is on call tonight, so he is tagging along with me for this.
So real. It's just so real.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I think relatable to a lot of students, a lot of people, just,
yeah.
Yeah. So thanks for bringing it in.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
We're going to keep it very, very real today.
Great. Awesome. So I'll turn it over to Ezra to kick us off with questions.
I guess what I really wanted to start this off with, because a lot of students, especially I know for myself, have a lot of ambiguity and a lot of, I guess, fear when it comes to the job market. So what would be one thing that would stand out? Because I know that you recruit for your company, so what would be one thing that you would see on somebody's resume and you would be like, maybe we might want to give this person an interview?
So I think catering your resume and your application to the job. The really cool thing about the digital world is that we have access to apply to so many jobs and see so many things. And the cool part of that is that you can kind of almost like mass or bulk apply. The downside is that you aren't necessarily catering every single time. So trying your best to cater that resume and that experience and that kind of profile that you're showing to the job. So if you find keywords on their website, in their vision statement, in their mission statement, in the job description and the type of like personality traits that they're looking for, cater your experience as much as possible. Because it's really hard. I know for me, we see a lot of students who aren't necessarily from an agriculture background applying for agriculture jobs, and they don't reference livestock or agriculture anywhere on their resumes. And it's really hard for me to gauge that passion and that interest. But if you find a way to include your schoolwork or your experience and cater it towards the job, that to me really makes somebody stand out.
How did you even get started in with recruiting for a company as big as Five
Rivers.
Five Rivers? Yeah,
Yep.
my fault. Yeah.
So I actually originally started on the production side of things, and that was from a friend that I knew from Colorado State. We went to school together. He knew my interest was kind of in the ag communications realm, and there was a job at the feedlot that had a really tour emphasis. So I gave about 100 tours a year and managed the natural program. And the company saw my skill set really grow in communicating with people, and I got asked occasionally to go on recruiting trips, especially like to my alma mater, like CSU. And so I got asked a lot of the time to join those endeavors, and they're like, well, Kim loves talking to people. Let's make her talk to people for us professionally. And so they actually approached me about the talent acquisition job. And originally I didn't want it because I didn't feel like it aligned with production as much as I really liked. But that was when I got the really great career advice that sometimes your career path isn't a ladder. It isn't a straight flight of stairs up. Sometimes it's like a spider web, and you're moving kind of around, always working towards the center. And so that advice kind of helped me take this job, and I've really liked it.
So a lot of what you do is or requires networking. So you talk to a lot of people when you're recruiting them and all that for Five Rivers. So what are like the skills or what would be the 3 best skills or traits that you would want to see in a potential employer or employee, my fault?
So I think the first piece of advice that I really like sharing, especially as we talk about how the bulk of students in the agriculture major aren't from an ag background, the first thing is don't apologize. Don't open your intro or your networking with apologizing for like not having an ag background. So that kind of ties into my first one, which is confidence. Come in having kind of a confident nature, even if you're completely faking it and you're like shaking in your boots, just fake it. Just confidently know, I like to say, you are the person who knows the most about you. And really that's all that networking is. It's selling yourself constantly and pushing yourself as an asset to that company. So that being said, carry some confidence about who you are, your skill set, what you're capable of, what you know, what you do, what you like. The second thing is try to do a little bit of research on the companies that are going to be at the networking event or that you're going to work with. Knowing just a little bit, even, hey, Five Rivers is the world's largest cattle feeder. Like the top headline fact from our website already impresses me. Like you have made a connection. You've done a bit of research about who we are and what we do. And that immediately impresses me is, okay, this person's heard of us. They know what we do. Even if you don't, again, you read the headline on the website. And then the last one is try to leverage as much mutual connection as you already have as possible. Try to find connections, try to find, it's called networking because you're building a network. Try to find any common bridge you can. Like, oh, I went to high school near there, or I also rock climb, or I too eat. Like whatever it is that you can like find to find some common ground and then build on that.
Can I ask a follow-up on this?
Yeah.
So, when that's really great in the interview. What about after the interview?
Yeah, I think I was on a panel the other day, and my boss actually said this, and I thought it was hilarious. He said, be persistent to the point of annoying. Follow up. Send an email. Send a thank you note. Keep following up. And even if you apply and you don't hear, keep following up. Keep sending me emails. Keep checking in with me. Reach out to the company somehow to let me know, like, hey, this wasn't just an off-the-cuff application. This is something that I'm really interested in. Because, as they say, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Like, if I looked at 50 applications that day, but you're the one who emailed me, I'm going to go at least double check and give you another chance to look.
I feel like kind of going along with that, for students who are still trying to figure out what they want to do, what would be a good starting point or steps to take to get into the agriculture industry?
Yeah, I think at clubs, organizations, all of the free resources that you have here on campus are great. I always say don't let class get in the way of your education. Go out, go to tours, go to networking nights. I know that it can be so hard when you want to be home or be with your friends and there's an evening event and you're like, should I go? Just go and meet people and network with people. And all the best experiences that I had in college were either through clubs or networking with my friends who are now my industry peers out in public. So that's my biggest advice is get involved in as many clubs and organizations as you can. I know that they're trying to start like a stock growers group. I know that there's previously been block and bridle. There are judging teams. There are all kinds of things that you can do that are free and that are right at your fingertips to let you immediately immerse yourself in the agriculture industry. So that'd be, I think, the biggest way if you're already in school, how to get involved.
So are there any professional organizations or on-campus clubs that you feel like people should join or that employers look for on resumes?
Yeah, so I know that one is Ag Future or Agriculture Future America, AFA. That's a great professional networking group that I know CSU has had affiliation with before, and they really work to make sure that you're getting plugged in with actual industry members. And then any of the clubs, like I said, they're starting a new collegiate stock growers. I was on the seed stock merchandising team. I was a part of the board of student organization funding. I was an ag ambassador. I was in the CSU colt starting class. And those are all really cool clubs and groups that go beyond just the classroom.
And on that note too, even just getting involved in one and taking on a leadership role, I feel like, leadership roles probably stand out on a resume as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Involvement is great, and leadership is even better.
Yeah.
I wanted to rehash, a couple of points that you that you made earlier, especially for like our students that may be iffy on getting a job. One is confidence. You have to have the confidence to have the job, that you're confident in your abilities to do the job. 2 would be to have a connection or make some sort of connection, personal connection. And 3 would be some sort of research to show that you're interested into the company. Now, with that being said, if while they meet all those type of criterias, or like while some people do meet those type of criterias, I know that some people fall short. So what are some like innovations or crazy like new ways of thinking that has came into the agricultural industry through that type of thinking?
Yeah, so like from people who are not involved in the industry, or cool, innovative ways people have plugged themselves in?
Cool, innovative ways people have plugged themselves in.
Yeah. I think as we reach this really cool cross-section of technology and agriculture, I think this tech side, this automation, this AI side, as we lean into agriculture, finding that is really cool. I think that people have brought a lot of that to the table, a ton of that to the table. That's really incredible. And the people who are going to be able to bridge that gap, I think, is the coolest part, because we have very antiquated technology and we have very new technology. We haven't quite figured out how to plug them in together. So people who can make that bridge and who are currently making that bridge, if this tech is really cool, this system is antiquated, how do we make the bridge? I think that those are the people who are going to make themselves key players in this industry in the next 25 years as we find a way to mesh all of that.
So with that being said, with emerging technologies like hydroponics, right? How would that feed into the feedlots? Would that make things cost less, or would it be a lot more difficult, or how does that tie into feedlots and livestock?
Yeah, so that's something I think we've dabbled with a little bit, kind of on the smaller ruminant side of things. Like I know they use a lot of hydroponic grown fodder for goats. On the scale that we're doing things, it's not feasible now. And I'm not ever going to say never, because I think that the ability to grow something vertically is really cool. I know that the biggest concern we have is water, and when you're talking about a hydroponic system, obviously it's based on water. So that's the hardest trade-off that we're going to have, is at what point, what is the breaking point on how much water it takes to grow the feed we have now, or feed in a different way? The question is almost always going to revolve around water. And so if it's a system that uses less or more water, that's going to be the big conversation.
So what would be one of the biggest challenges that you would see in the feedlot industry?
Yeah, for us, it's labor right now. The issue of labor, where do we find it? And I've had this kind of joking conversation before that our managers are middle-aged white men from ag backgrounds. And that's not a critique, it's just reality. And a lot of them want someone who looks like them, feels like them, had a background like them. And the reality is over 70% of students have no ag background. We've seen a little bit of a decrease in regular land-grant university enrollment in ag programs. HBCUs have seen a 34% increase, and women have outpaced men in ag programs since 2009. All of that tells us that the demographic that they kind of affiliate with is not going to be who we're seeing entering the industry. All of that to say, I think that we're going to see a very cool and very different approach to labor, and hopefully I think start recognizing what our labor pool looks like now. And that's a scary change for agriculture, as dumb as that sounds. But an agriculture or a labor group who doesn't have the same background that you have, or grew up the same way you do, or have I guess the same kind of cultural feel is always a scary change for any industry, and I don't think that ag is any different.
You mentioned the change of like labor within the industry. Are there any other changes or trends that you see within the agriculture industry that students or like young entrepreneurs should pay attention to?
Yeah, I think we kind of dabbled a little bit on the technology and the AI side of things. Like I said, I think that we've had a lot of really cool big ideas brought to our door, but knowing how we plug those ideas into our system, that's going to be the coolest part, is we have all of this technology at our fingertips, but how do we plug it in?
How to actually implement
Yeah,
it.
100%. And make it and retrofit it to old equipment. I mean, you can't ask a farmer to replace a couple $1 million in equipment just because you have a new computer system that will be more efficient. How do we retrofit that new system to fit the old technology?
Well, I wanted to go back onto the topic of labor because, as since the pandemic, we've seen a significant decline in people wanting to actually join the labor markets, join the labor forces. When it comes to unemployment, the unemployment rate has dropped, but that doesn't account for a lot of the people are just not that just don't want to be in the labor market. So, and especially since agriculture it's a very like physically demanding sector. So how do you guys go about regulating y'all employees? Like, is there like less hours, or is there more tech involved to help with some of the feedlots and to help with some of those livestock?
I think both. Both of those are ways. We've always worked really hard to make sure our employees have work-life balance. And that's always my plug for why feedlots are great, is because you know what time you get there, you know what time you leave. So we have work-life balance that a lot of areas of agriculture don't necessarily have. So that's one thing, is making sure our employees have work-life balance. They have time off, they have benefits, which in agriculture is not always the case. So you have full benefits in retirement and things like that. So taking care of our employees as humans, not as like cogs in our machine. And then also finding ways, to implement tech that make their lives easier. We don't want to have it need to be backbreaking labor if we have technology that makes it easier physically and even mentally too, like take some of the mental stress and load off of the job. We've also had to lean on a lot of outside labor sources. We have a big percentage of our employee force is here on a TN visa program, which helps establish permanent residency in the long term. And so that's been a huge thing for us. And agriculture is a tough field because you can't drive a feed truck from home. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of industries that were able to make that shift and kind of meet their employees' demands. And we don't have that in every sector of agriculture. So leaning on that technology as much as possible to make our days shorter and more manageable.
I have a quick follow-up question. So within Five Rivers, what portion or proportion of the workforce is doing more of the manual labor jobs versus the maybe office jobs?
Yeah.
How would you break that down?
I would take a stab. It's about a 60% hourly, more like out in the field approach, and about 40% more quote-unquote office. The only people who really have full-time office jobs would be the accounting and admin at the feed yard, and then our corporate team. Everyone else has some form of a inside and outside office and labor type job. And
speaking about all the things that you guys do for your workers, because that is very appreciated, especially in this day and age where a lot of our like praise goes to technology more than we praise more of the mundane things in life, right? So how do you? Because that's a lot of things that, sick leave and giving them time off and getting new technology and all that. So how would you define the value of a worker for your company?
Yeah, that's a great question. First off, I think he really wants your pen. I'm so sorry. Big pen guy right now also. Plugs and pens, huge fan. And how we view and value our employees. I mean, we'll be honest, so we measure data, and we measure everything down to the dollars it costs us to lose and replace an employee, how much value they bring to the system. I mean, we have it all down to dollars and cents, and all of it is broken across how many cattle we have on site at our facilities every day. That being said, there are certain people who are truly, and I think the word gets thrown around a lot, but are truly invaluable. They have this certain kind of other quality that makes them a good leader It makes them a good person. It makes them a smart worker. And it makes people, I guess you could almost say it's a little bit of like a charisma thing, like people want to work for them. Those people are really hard to come by, and when you keep them, you want to let them know how much you value them, and you can't really put a dollar amount on it. It has to be through involvement and growth. Like there are certain people, like you could not pay them enough money to justify their value to the company. So pouring back into them things that they can't buy, like leadership training and opportunities to grow in the company and have their input be weighed and valued and considered by the company, are really the best ways we can do that.
Say you have, a team and they're those star players, and you can only pay them, so much, or, give them, whatever, compensate them in some way. What, as an employee, as that star player who recognizes their value that they add to the company, what advice would you have to those players to ask for the resources that they need? Like, in a company that may be able to support that, but more from the employee side, how to ask an employer about, hey, I need X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
What would that conversation look like?
I think if you work for a good company, they typically have some type of yearly review that gives that open door approach to what do you need? Mm-hmm. What do you need from us? And a lot of times that's more money or a bigger benefit check. But a lot of times that's my passion is really here. And that's how I got started running the social media for the company. I let them know this is what I'm really passionate about, is social media and communicating with the company, or in communicating with consumers about beef. And so that was a job I did voluntarily for a few years. But I kind of made the job what I wanted, and I kept asking them for what I needed to do that role, and then help them see the benefit of this is a great ROI for your investment in me and in this thing that I'm doing for you, and we're getting public recognition for it, and they started to really see the value. So asking for and being vocal about your passions if they aren't perfectly in line with your job. And I've always said if the job meets every single need of yours, 100% you're going to outgrow that job rapidly. Find something that kind of exceeds your threshold a little bit so that you have some challenge, and that'll help you find what you're really passionate about and what you want to grow. And when you have those reviews, be vocal about it. I think a lot of people like to kind of suffer in silence. Be vocal about, hey, this project's coming up. I'm really excited about it. Hey, we're doing this cool new thing. I'm really interested in that. Hey, I think that we have a need for this as a company. I'd love to tackle that. And so making yourself known that, one, you're happy to kind of step laterally around in that job and kind of see some other opportunities, but also that you want to be the person that they call when there's an opportunity like that.
Do you see that there are any gaps or opportunities that you wish young people would explore?
In their skill set or in the workforce?
I would say let's start with skill set, and then maybe if you have examples of how that applies in the workforce, we'd love to hear it.
Again, I'm going to steal this from my boss in the panel that we were on. Doing as much self-learning as possible where it applies to your role. Like for me, that was Photoshop and photography. Never took a formal class, never did anything. I explored that on my own through University of Google.
Yeah.
And so things like that, like coding, I know is huge. If you can write a few lines of code, if you learn, oh gosh, I think you said it was called Cobra. Like if you can learn that and just randomly be able to throw out like, hey, I can actually code. Like I can, it's small things like that that make you invaluable, because otherwise we'd have to pay someone to go send to go. So things like coding, photography, like IT resources, programming, things that you can learn for free on the side online, because we have so many resources online. Trading stocks, learning about the economy, like things that are these kind of cool, like almost party trick type things that you can be like, oh yeah, I do that. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I play the guitar. Things like that. Like being a truly multifaceted person is so, I feel like, underdeveloped today. I think we ask kids from, as soon as they can talk, like, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Right.
What are you going to be when you grow up? And I don't know that even sports, sorry, now I'm getting on a little bit of a rant, but like sports, I feel like we make a kid pick a sport at 10 and like hammer that home their entire high school career. How many kids are multi-sport athletes anymore? And I feel like it's a lot the same with school and academia. Like, oh, I want to be a vet. I'm going to do science all the time. And I never explored the arts. My grandpa was an artist. Like, I should have known I had some type of creative talent in there. And I didn't even touch on that till I was like 27.
Yeah.
So I think kind of exploring these other passions that can fill your cup too, outside of just being a valuable employee, I think it makes you a happier human being.
And there are places for specialists, for sure.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And I think we live in a world where we can be generalists. And there are a lot of ways that we can apply that to, or think about that in our, as students or in our own lives, that can be very valuable.
Yeah. I forgot to mention Excel. Like, learn how to use Excel inside and out. Like, we made the joke, like, if you can't use Excel, you're unhireable. Like, learn how to pull all of these cool, like, codes and formulas and tables out of Excel. And it's so easy. Like, there's so many free, like, newsletters that give you, like, a code of the day.
And we're definitely, in our program, we're incorporating a lot of classes like that. We do Excel in our class, and we have a class that teaches students how to code in R, which is now, you can use R and Python together. So there are a lot of classes that are
That was a snake.
Python, yes. I see Cobra in Python. That's great. So we have opportunities we're developing classes in our program so that students have those experiences. But certainly beyond the classroom, there's so much out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just got one question for you. What does it mean to you to be rooted?
That's a great question. We talk about this a lot because we're a company that has 13 locations in 6 states. And so people move a lot. And I think truly being a part of your community and being physically where you are at, especially in a global world, like my family lives in Northern California, and it's hard for me sometimes to think of this as home and there as home. But I think really truly plugging yourself into the community and the humanity around you, so being involved in your school board, having a church or something that fills your kind of spiritual and emotional cup, having a friend group. I've joked about this before. Sorry if cussing's not allowed, but we have a women networking group called Bitches and Beef up here in Northern Colorado. And it's just all of us, we get together and we talk about the industry and the struggles of being a woman in this industry. And so I think being rooted is connecting the humanity around you. I think that we focus a lot on the hustle and the grind and the job and the career and the side hustle and, monetizing everything, when you can be rooted and be a part of your community and enjoy your parks, enjoy your public libraries, like really know where you are. For me, that's a big part of it. And you may be asked to move by your job one day, and having a skill set that lets you put down roots wherever you go, I think is huge.
Yeah, that's so helpful because we live in a world where you might move. I moved from Pennsylvania to Arizona to Colorado, but I learned along the way how to build community, and that was really helpful to balance my professional life. So that's a really good tip.
And then when you have a little monster child, you have a community you can lean on too.
Yeah. So any last questions for our guest and Everett? That's guest number 2.
If you could give advice to your younger self, what was like one piece of advice you would give to them?
I don't know. I think it all works out, I think would be my biggest piece of advice, because I don't know that I'd want to change anything because I'm so happy where I ended up. I keep joking, there's so many parts of my job that I didn't want. I didn't want to work on a feedlot. I didn't want to do HR. And I do them and I love them now. I didn't think I wanted kids. And now this video might not tell you, but like he's really, really fun. And so I said no, and I kind of thought I was going to rule out a lot of things, but I didn't do them permanently, and I'm really happy that I said yes to things that I was like, I don't think that's for me, and I kind of proved myself wrong.
Well, thank you, Kim. Thank you, Everett, for being here.
Thank you. Sorry that we have like blinds in the background and lights moving and scribbling on a table and him saying, oh no.
We got real. That's what it was about.
Do you want to say bye? Say bye-bye.
Say bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye to everybody.
Oh, of course.
And thank you to Emily and Ezra, our co-hosts, and our
thank you
live
so
studio
much.
audience out here. Until next time.